Hello, everyone. Welcome and thank you for joining us on today's webinar, iPads at Work, How McKinley Greatly Increased Service Revenue, brought to you by the Technology Services Industry Association and sponsored by ServiceMax. My name is Inga Intriago, your moderator for today. Before we get started, we have just a few housekeeping items. Audio is routed through your speakers. If you encounter audio quality or technical issues, let us know via the questions panel. You may access full screen via the toggle button located at the top right area of the console. We encourage you to ask questions at any time via the questions panel. If you don't get to your questions today, we will follow up with you via email. And finally, a link to the recorded version of the webinar and PDF of the presentation will be sent out in the next 24 hours via email. Once again, thank you for taking the time to join us. Our presenters today are John Ragsdale, VP of Technology and Social Research for TSIA, Stacy Epstein, VP of Marketing for ServiceMax, and Kevin Rusing, CFO of McKinley Equipment Corporation. So let's go ahead and get started by turning things over to our first presenter. John, over to you.
Thank you, Inga. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our very last partner webcast for 2013. Very happy to have you with us today. We're going to be talking about a pretty sexy topic, mobility in field service. To talk about that, I'm going to kick things off kind of setting the stage and discussing some of the issues, and then I'm going to be turning things over to Stacy Epstein from ServiceMax, who's going to give us a demo of their very cool iPad application. And finally, we're going to hear from an actual customer case study. Kevin Rusing from McKinley is going to talk about their use of mobility and automation in field service. So let me get started with, it's interesting, over the last year there have been some new studies out showing that customers who have a problem with your technology and have that problem resolved effectively are actually more satisfied and more loyal than a customer who never has a problem to begin with. And what that is telling us is that we have an enormous potential with service interactions to enhance the brand, to reinforce the brand, to define the brand in the eyes of our customers. And as I always say, service and support is really the voice and face of your company to your customers. And if we think about the different service interactions and the potential for each of those interactions to really dazzle our customers, obviously on the low end you have unassisted support, web self-service. It's great to get their question answered quickly and easily, not necessarily an amazing experience. Next up, we have assisted support, whether through phone or email. And this, we really have a great capability here to give customers what they want, do it friendly, be informed, and guarantee them a great experience. But if you think about field service has really the most potential for impact on our customers. You're actually live in their home, in their office, and especially in the B2B world where TSIA lives, we hear that many customers get to know their field service techs. They have the same tech coming in and out of their office for years at a time, and they really become an important part of their team. So I think that companies that continue to look at service operations purely as a cost center, not a profit center, definitely are behind the curve. And so I think it's important for all of us to look at what is the image that we want to portray to our customers. And being kind of funny here, but if you think over the past, what the image of a field service professional has been, they're not always the best reflection of your company. Yes, they got the job done. Yes, they were good old boys, but definitely a little rough around the edges. And as we think about where field service is going today and where it's going in the future, that image that we're portraying definitely is changing and definitely needs to change. The demeanor is more professional, the dress is more professional, and the biggest change is the technology that these field techs are armed with is completely changing. And that is definitely raising the level of professionalism that they portray to their customers, and the interactions with the customers is I'll discuss in more detail here in a minute. So when we talk about field service and mobility, we've done a lot of webcasts on this topic in the past, and the focus has always been the increase to productivity or the cost-cutting capabilities. And while that continues to be probably the driving ROI behind a lot of the investment in mobile field service, the truth is that if you analyze what customers want from the ideal field service experience, mobility is helping to deliver that as well. So based on surveys of what a field service customer is looking for, this slide represents the top 6 things that we always see that customers want. They want a convenient appointment, a time that's convenient to them, and preferably a specific time, not a 4 or 8 hour window. They want an on-time arrival. They have changed their schedule. They've gotten a setter for the kids for you to be there at a certain time, so you need to honor that commitment and be on time. They want someone that knows your history. How many times has this product been fixed in the past? How many service appointments have there been? If it's not the same tech every time, they want to make sure that you do understand what's happened so we're not reinventing the wheel. They want a knowledgeable technician that's trained on this equipment. He's not faking his way through it. He's got confidence, and he's able to really demonstrate that confidence to you. We definitely want a first-time fix if at all possible. This is the ultimate in the customer experience, and avoiding having to schedule another appointment to follow up a second time to come out to the office and try to fix that problem. And finally, if applicable, timely and accurate billing. They want to, if they are getting a bill for the parts or the services, they want enough detail so that they feel comfortable with the charges. So if we think about these as sort of the nirvana for customers in a field service visit, every one of these elements can be linked directly to mobility. I've got a screenshot here of the field service iPad application from ServiceMax, which we'll be getting a live demo of today. But think about how mobility is impacting each of these customer areas, these customer wants for the ideal experience. First of all, we've got real-time scheduling. So instead of giving someone a route sheet at the beginning of the shift, we can do dynamic scheduling throughout the day. That makes us much more responsive to customers, especially last-minute emergencies, and it allows the customer to have more flexibility in the time and the person that comes to their site. On-time arrival is definitely something that we're improving. We're now able to give the technician real-time routing instructions, let them know that there's a tractor trailer turned over on the interstate and they need to take the surface streets. So we can not only give better routing instructions, we can actually monitor where the field tech is. I was able to visit one of our members, Dell, and saw the Dell has this huge map in their war room, and they're actually tracking where the truck is on the way to the customer so they can tell the customer how many blocks away they are. Definitely informed agents, because they've got armed with mobile technology. They have visibility into the entire CRM history of this account, when every product was purchased, every service record, etc. First-time fix is also improving. Because of these mobile devices, we've got real-time access to knowledge bases, troubleshooting guides, diagnostics, as well as collaboration tools such as Chatter, so that if you do run into a problem you're not sure about, you can reach out to your supervisor or your peers and see how they've handled this problem in the past. And you can do that immediately while you're standing in front of the equipment. You can even send a picture along if necessary to help solve the problem faster. And as far as the billing goes, we can now do electronic signature capture, so you can get approval from the manager when you're on site. So you've already pre-approved all of the charges. You've got a very detailed audit trail showing on-time arrival, what time you left, the scans from all of the parts used. So the invoices that are delivered to customers are much more detailed and much more accurate. So you see that the DSO starts to shrink because customers just tend to pay those bills faster. So all of this is leading to a great deal of interest in field service mobility, and I have some data here from my annual member technology survey. We survey our members every March to find out where they have planned spending across 24 categories of service tools and technology. And around service mobility, it's been a very hot area. You can see that adoption of mobile tools for field service is slowly rising, 56 up to 57. This year, up to 61% of our members have a mobile tool in place for field service. But look at the spending. Last year in 2012, half of our members, 50%, had budget for mobile tools. This year, it's up to 64. Two-thirds of our members have budget for mobile tools. So I know there's a lot of investigation, a lot of spending going on in this area. So very happy to have you join this webcast today and get some more details, because I know a lot of you are shopping. So one final thing before I turn our presentation over to our guest speakers today, and that's think about the different dimensions that are being impacted by mobile field service. As I said before, we tend to always focus on the employee productivity part, and that's probably where most companies get their ROI, definitely driving up utilization rates for your field service techs, boosting first-time fix, reducing on-site time, boosting number of appointments per shift, things like that. But there are other areas of impact as well, and today we were talking about customer satisfaction. The fact that these mobile tools give your field techs access to all of their peers in the field, as well as all of the corporate content at their fingertips, is definitely speeding up the process and making every field tech an expert on every product. And finally, an area that I hadn't really thought that much about, but in doing research for today's webcast, I was watching a YouTube video from Kevin Russin, our guest speaker today from McKinley, and he said, happy employees need long-term customers. And absolutely what we have seen from a lot of our field service case studies is that when you are empowering your field techs with these new mobile devices, they are thrilled to get their hands on these new tools. It's the first technology rollout that we haven't had adoption problems with, and definitely it's improving employee satisfaction because they feel more empowered and effective to do their jobs. So a lot of great impacts from mobility. We've got a nice audience today, so I know a lot of you are interested in this topic. So I would like to turn things over now to our first guest speaker, Stacy Epstein, Vice President of Marketing from ServiceMax. Stacy, take it away.
Thank you, John, and thanks for that, those great opening comments and presentations. I'm going to spend just a little bit of time telling you a little bit about ServiceMax and showing you a quick video demo. But I know we all want to get to Kevin from McKinley and hear his story, so I'm going to try not to take up too much time. But I'll start out with talking a little bit about what we see as some great transformations that have taken place in the field service space. First, I think if you look at the service delivery of yesterday, I think a lot of people thought of delivering great service as customers got a problem, I need to send a technician so that they can fix the problem, and that's basically the extent of what I do to deliver service. But as we've learned, and as John even touched on, there's so many more pieces to delivering what we like to call flawless field service than just getting a technician to show up at the doorstep. Perfecting service delivery takes into consideration, are you equipping the technician with a mobile device to have all of the access to information they need, routing information, troubleshooting information, FaceTime so they can collaborate? Are you managing all the parts that are going back and forth and optimizing that function? Are you managing the warranties associated with all of these parts? And are you really doing everything that you need to do to perfect that delivery process for your customer? And at the same time, are you not just thinking about cutting costs, you're also thinking about driving growth and revenue in your service business? And finally, are your customers delighted with the level of service that you're providing so that they not only stay loyal to you as a customer, but they continue to make additional purchases going forward? So at ServiceMax, we like to strive for flawless field service for our customers. And again, we think that's a much broader process than just getting a technician to the door at the time. And what I'm showing right now, hopefully my slides are keeping up with me, is just a high-level picture of our ServiceMax suite, which again is not just about scheduling. It's about contracts and warranties. It's install-based management. It's what we call service plans, preventative maintenance. It does include scheduling, of course. That's a key component of field service management, and we have a very comprehensive solution there. But it also includes parts and managing parts and reverse logistics and inventory and depot repair and RMAs and all of the complexity that goes with tracking your parts in the field. Social tools so that these inherently mobile and often siloed technicians have a way of collaborating with other experts to solve the problem the first time. Portals so that your customers can access their service information, create new work orders, see the status of jobs. Partners, many of you have contract with third-party providers to deliver service to your customers, so arming them with that same information. And of course, mobile. Mobile is a key component to what we do, and I think obviously it's a key component to delivering flawless field service. And it's, of course, what we're here to talk about today. And I'll get to a quick demo of our iPad app. But first, what's the result of this flawless field service? Earlier this year, we did a survey across our customer base to try to get to what was the ROI that they've experienced for implementing ServiceMax, and pretty astounding results, 31% average increase in productivity across our customer base, 14% increase in service revenue, first-time fix rates, customer satisfaction scores up, and optimization costs are down, time to repair is down. So some pretty tangible metrics here. I know Kevin's going to talk about his own metrics in implementing ServiceMax, but some high impact. And what we're here today to talk about is one piece of our suite, and that's our mobile application for iPads. This is what technicians use in the field. Lots of features and functionality. This is built native on iOS, so we take advantage of a lot of features in the iOS development platform, things like FaceTime and signature capture and barcoding. A lot of really great stuff that gives your technicians tools that they've never experienced that help them deliver this flawless field service. Now, it's kind of hard to show a live demo of an iPad when you're on a computer on a webinar. So what we're going to show you is a video demo of our iPad app, and I'm going to ask Inga to play that for you now.
I'm a service technician in the field. I start every day with ServiceMax on my iPad. First, I'll check my calendar to see what service requests I have on my schedule for the day. I can see all of the work orders I have today, or I can look at a week view. Now I'll view the map where I can see route information for the day and even driving directions for my first appointment. Now I'll dig deeper into the details of this first work order so I can be prepared. I can see all kinds of information about this work order, including parts information, account information, and details about the problem I need to solve. I can even see SLA clocks to tell me how much time I have left to solve the issue. I'm going to look even deeper into the product history for this account. And now I'm at the customer site and I can't seem to solve the problem quickly. With ServiceMax, I can troubleshoot on the spot. I have mobile access to my knowledge base, including videos and product manuals, but I still can't solve the problem. So I'm going to use Service Pulse, ServiceMax's built-in social collaboration technology, to leverage the expertise of other people in my organization. Looks like others are having the same problem that I'm having, and there's an expert that can help me. I think I'll FaceTime him and show him the problem live. Hi Richard, I'm trying to fix this wand issue and the video didn't help me. Can you take a look?
You're actually going to have to replace that transducer there. A lot of them have been coming in faulty lately.
Ah, that makes sense. I'll fix it now. Thanks. And now that I've solved the problem, I'll enter some parts, labor, and expenses information. First, I need to add the parts used from my truck stock. I can use barcoding to enter the part. And now I'll add that part to my work order. And now I'll account for my labor. I performed a repair, and I'll show the start and end time, and the amount of hours that it took me to solve the problem. Oh, I see I have an error message. I violated one of the rules of my organization. Looks like I put 10 hours instead of 8 hours, and that's not allowed. ServiceMax's data validation rules work whether I'm online or offline, and now I have to go back and change that. And now I'll add my billable expenses. I've finished my work order, and now I'll save it. Before I go, I need to get buy-off on my work. Right from my iPad, I can produce a work order service report and show it to the customer. I can scroll down and let my customer sign off on the spot, and an invoice will be mailed to them immediately. My company is happy and my customer is delighted. You can find ServiceMax in the App Store. Just search for ServiceMax.
Good morning. My name is Kevin Rustin, and I am the CFO of McKinley Equipment and McKinley Elevator. I'm super excited to be with you this morning and explain to you how McKinley has revolutionized our field service business and drastically increased our service revenue. So a little introduction about myself. Again, I am Kevin Rustin, the CFO of McKinley Equipment and McKinley Elevator. This is my 23rd year at the company. And a long time ago, I started off as service manager, and I've worked my way all the way up to CFO position. This article was taken back from MHEDA, which is the Material Handling Equipment Distributors Association, way back in 2006. And in that small box you really can't read right there, it talks about a future goal that I had. And that future goal talks about me wanting to grow my business and creating a computer database that will allow me to keep my customers for life. Well, I'm really happy to report to you this morning that I did not create that database, but I did find it, and I found that in ServiceMax, and the goal of which is to keep my customers for life. The beauty of partnering with someone like ServiceMax is it allows me to focus on running my business, McKinley Equipment and McKinley Elevator, while ServiceMax is focusing on their business, which is writing the best service software, field service software, in the industry to allow you to run your business. And together, if you partner with ServiceMax like McKinley has, you are destined for success. So who is McKinley Equipment and McKinley Elevator? McKinley Equipment is a material handling distributing company. We started way back in 1948. And basically, in a nutshell, anything that you have purchased in a grocery store, in a Best Buy, anything at any place, has at one point run over or under the types of products that we sell and service. We are in all of California, Arizona, and Nevada. And if you think about everything that's coming over and being manufactured from Asia Pac, it hits the port of Los Angeles and the port of Long Beach. And then basically from that point, it gets distributed throughout California, Arizona, Nevada, and also starts heading. And McKinley Elevator is also a distributor. And like McKinley Equipment, McKinley Elevator is also in California, Arizona, and Nevada. However, McKinley Elevator is an accessibility distributor. And what does that mean? That means residential elevators, wheelchair lifts, stair chairs, and some very specialty car lifts. So if you stop and think for a moment about ADA with the American Disabilities Act, since then wheelchair lifts and accessibility has been an absolute boom. In addition, property in California is very expensive, and so people now want to build up. We are putting elevators in tract homes. And what builders are doing is they're offering a residential elevator just like they would a granite countertop or any type of upgrade to your home so that they can capture 100% of the market. If someone comes in with a disability right now and a home builder is selling two-story homes, they're not able to sell to 100% of the market. However, if they offer a residential elevator and they're selling a two-story home, they're now able to capture and sell to 100% of the market. And finally, one of the things I want to talk about is baby boomers. If you think about the baby boomers, right, this is a huge portion population within the United States, and these folks are trying to and wanting to buy and purchase their last home that they can actually retire and grow old in together. And so they can't afford, again, to build out because property is so expensive in California. But what they can do is purchase a home with a residential elevator. So as they get old and if they have accessibility needs, they will still be able to use their home 100%. Finally, at the bottom of this slide, you see to be the most trusted sales and service distributor in our market. So really what that is that's our mission statement for both McKinley Equipment and McKinley Elevator. If you really notice, it doesn't say what we do. It doesn't say where we do it. It just totally focuses on trust, because trust to us is the key to success in growing our business and truly becoming partners with our customers and not just a vendor to them. And with that, it allows us to grow not only geographically, but also through different product lines. And then you just have to step back and say, do these temps care at all? And was the information that they were pulling, was it actually really accurate? It certainly was not real time. And not only that, going back to our mission statement, was it trustworthy? So they'd eventually take all that information, they'd key it into an Excel spreadsheet, and then we'd email it over to our customers. We were super high tech. If you talk about bringing the right part on the first trip, we have some customers that have over 1,500 dock positions. And when you think about a dock position, there's multiple products that can be at every one of those different locations. So we can have 3 or 4 or 5 products at every dock position. So let's just say 3. And if we have a 1,500 dock position building, that could be 4,500 products at one single location. And so back in the day, if the customer said, come out and fix blank, we'd have no idea what that was because you couldn't keep track of that. And that's just an example of one customer. And so the odds of us ever bringing out the right part on the very first time were really kind of slim and none. So let's talk about the McKinley Service Organization today. We have over 50 installers and service technicians between both companies. Like I said, we serve California, Arizona, and Nevada. We are currently armed with iPads and the ServiceMax mobile. We install and service all the products that we sell. And finally, all of our competitor products as well. So the example that I like to give people is think about General Motors for a moment since 1948 and all the different makes and models that they've had since then. Now think of all the parts that are needed to be tracked within all those different makes and models. And that's like McKinley and all the different items that we service and all the different parts that we sell. Because some of these steel dock levelers, they can last 20, 30 more years. And to track all those different parts in the past was really kind of impossible. But now with ServiceMax, when my guys go out to a job, not only does my dispatcher knows, but my technicians know as well exactly what they're going to before they ever arrive. So what were some of our goals with ServiceMax? I think really the main key is we want to make field service our main competitive differentiator. If you stop and think about this for a moment, if you're within your service business and you are trying to get things done, you never want to compete on price with your competitors. It's a no-win situation. Your margins go lower. It doesn't give you any brand loyalty. You're not truly building any partnerships with your customer. You're basically just a vendor or a supplier for them. And that's the exact place you do not want to be. And so we said if we make field service our main competitive differentiator, we're going to eliminate competing on price, and we're going to ultimately try to get ourselves to a position where we can truly be a partner with our customers and not a vendor or supplier, so that both their business and our business can grow simultaneously. So what are some of the important things in thinking about that? One is, as John said earlier, happy employees, service delivery, customer loyalty and success, and service revenue. So let's take a few minutes and let's talk about every single one of these if we could. Let's talk about happy employees. Currently have less than 0.5% employee turnover ratio at McKinley. No more walking in blind for technicians. I mean, this is absolutely huge. So stop and think about your poor technicians that are out there on a daily basis going and fighting the fight for you and your company. And what happens to them all the time? They walk in blind because they have no idea what they're going into. They have no idea the history of what has taken place on that product. And the customer comes up to them and they get hit. And they get hit, often with, why don't you know this? What's going on? And they're the ones that, at the end of the day, are coming back saying, "God, I'm frustrated. I'm trying to do my job. I want to do my job, but I don't have any of this information at my fingertips, and it's holding me back from really doing my job." We have a huge cost savings on training now. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. We have Service Pulse, which allows us to share information. I'm going to go into details on a few of these in just a second, too. We have an entirely new service technician culture at McKinley. And then the last thing I'm going to tell you about a technician of mine, his name's Joe. So let's talk about this huge cost savings on training. With Service Pulse, which is basically AKA Chatter, but with a service twist to it within ServiceMax, we've created how-to videos with how to do things within ServiceMax, how to repair things, how to deposit a check remotely, how to take a credit card remotely so you can speed up your accounts receivable. And we've placed these videos, which we've very specifically made from about 30 seconds to no longer than 1 minute in length. So they're nice and short tidbits, very, very specific to whatever the technician's looking for. Remember, the best part about Service Pulse and Chatter is it allows you to be very specific as to what you're looking for. And so if my technician says, hey, how do I enter a part onto my work order within ServiceMax, he can go into Service Pulse, enter that information, and up comes videos for him to watch. And he can actually watch those videos live in the field. So it helps give you some self-training with your technicians. It allows you to not bring those technicians all the time back into the office, because if they're back in the office, they're not billing a customer, and they can actually do it out there on the fly. And again, they're taking care of your customers, and you're saving money. As well as with Service Pulse, we also put in information. We have tribal knowledge about our products and our services, and we share all that information with all of our technicians. Currently, right now, when a technician puts something in there, in the past, if a technician had a technical discussion with a service manager, the only person that learned from that was that one technician. So now think about my 50 guys over 3 states. Now what happens when that technical discussion is finished, what happens is that information goes into Chatter or a Service Pulse. All the technicians are allowed to review that, and then everything that's new that goes into Service Pulse on a monthly basis gets reviewed on a monthly basis as well. So it goes in, they review it, it gets reviewed at a meeting, and they can always forever go back and pull that up when they're stuck out there in the field. We have an entirely new service technician culture. Our guys are so proud to be walking around and serving their customers with an iPad instead of an old greasy piece of paper that's all wrinkled up and say, here's your copy. Now when they're out there with the customers, they can change the status of of the work order on the fly with the customer. Customer signs right there on the spot, sees what work the technician's done, and before he gets back to his or her desk, they have a copy of that work order in their inbox. And finally, I just want to quickly tell you about a guy by the name of Joe. Joe's worked for McKinley for almost 3 decades now, and he was one that took a little while to get onto the iPad. He's an old-timer. But when Joe eventually got onto the iPad, he loved it so much. When I recently saw him in the back early one morning before we started, he said to me, he said, Kevin, he goes, I know I fought you tooth and nail about doing this thing. He goes, but now everything that you ever told me about the way I could service my customers, the way I could do my job was 100% true. He goes, I'm here to tell you this now. If you ever think that you want to take away my iPad from me, I'm going to retire. So let's talk about service delivery. So we've increased our first call fix rate since we've been live with ServiceMax by a whopping 18%. We're going to talk about a few of these things here. I'm going to just go ahead and bullet through these, and then I'll come back and talk about some specifics. So our first-time fix rates, we track by department as well as product as well as customer, because that's super important to be able to dissect it in those different types of ways so you can really understand where you're going right and where you're going wrong, and you can drill down by that, and so you can actually solve that problem and continually to increase and push up that first call fix rate. Our parts ordering bottleneck has been destroyed. I can imagine if we were in a room right now and I asked for a show of hands, how many people have ever had a technician turn in a work order on a piece of paper that said, I need to order a thingamajig. Every single one of you would actually raise your hands. So that's the way that we used to have it too. A technician would maybe draw a picture and say, I need to have this thing, order this part that's connected to this, and off they go. Well, remember now with all those different parts, like the example I gave with General Motors, we have all those manuals now within Chatter as well as on the iPad. So the technician, while he's actually out on site with the customer, he actually looks up every single one of those part numbers and actually keys in the appropriate part number into the work order on ServiceMax. So now when the technician changes the status to technician on site to parts requested, when that order goes into my parts department, what happens to my parts department? They don't have to spend hours on a daily basis looking at 50 technicians' part numbers. they instantly have the part number and they can process those orders so much quicker. And in addition, all the time that was wasted before by our parts department actually looking all those numbers up, that's never billable time to our customers. So now that our technicians are actually doing it out in the field, that is now all billable time to those customers. So it's a win-win for McKinley on both sides of that. We have consistency on service for any tech on any job because of a feature called SFM, which is Service Flow Manager, that allows us to dictate the way that the order goes through for a technician in the field. So if I have customer A that wants us to do work this way when we get to their site, and customer B wants us to do it this way, through SFM we can actually program that, and so the technician follows the work order actually on site to the field. So he delivers that special quote-unquote service to every single one of those customers. And he doesn't have to remember anything the way that you have to do that now because it's all right in front of him, and it is based off of the programming of the contract that you sell with that customer. And again, you can have an unlimited amount of customized service plans. In the old days, we used to have to remember all the different details to those things. And in the old days, too, when you forgot one of those for one of your quote-unquote very important customers, they get upset because they thought you were their only customer that they actually had. And when you made that mistake, and when you're not a partner with them, when someone else is in there trying to go for a lower price, they would possibly look at that. Well, now we don't have to memorize all that stuff because we build automatically off of the contract, all the SLAs, anything that we have that we've agreed to with that contract, it happens automatically for us. And we've also eliminated all of our warranty leaks because every single one of our work orders is on a live dashboard that's refreshed multiple times during the day. And if a work order ever sits in there for longer than a day, we can actually see what it's for. And before, if a work order ever came back in, it was supposed to be billed to the customer, maybe it was supposed to be billed to the factory, whatever the case might be, and it slipped through the cracks, those things weren't billed. But now it can't slip through the cracks because I'm staring at it on a dashboard on a daily basis, and every single one of those gets picked up, if you will, and then processed through the system. It's a huge amount of money savings for McKinley as well. Let's talk about customer loyalty and success. And again, I've mentioned this several times this morning about not just being a vendor, about truly being a partner and a trusted advisor for your customers. I'll click through these again, and then I'll come back and talk about each one as well. So we're actually doing some proactive service and no longer just being reactive. And we're doing this in a couple of different ways now. And one is we're collecting a ton of data on all the different products that we service, because what it's allowing us to do, just like when you go to a car dealership and they say, hey, at 15,000 miles you need to do this kind of service, and at 30,000 miles you need to do this kind of service. We've never had that in our industry before, and we're actually kind of writing that at the moment for how those details are going to unfold in our industry. And that's super exciting because if we notice that a certain product seems to always fail at blank amount of cycles, we can repair and replace that part before it even gets to that point. Because for McKinley, if we want to be a true partner to our customer, the ultimate for us is to keep their products up and running. If their products are down, their business is down, and they're not making money. And so we want to always make sure that we're on the proactive side of doing business with them rather than on the reactive side. In addition to, we can always see, like I said, with our dashboards, all the status of all orders that we have open. And we can make sure that we're calling our customers and following up and letting them know possibly there's a back order on parts, possibly there's a supplier issue, whatever the case might be. But in the old days when we order a part on a piece of paper, the piece of paper was filed in the filing cabinet until the part came in, the work order came out, and it was thrown in the dispatcher's box to go ahead and redispatch again. Well, what would usually happen is something was backward. We'd forget about it because it was sitting in the filing cabinet. And the customer would call a week later and say, hey, where are you guys? Weren't you supposed to order some parts and get back out here? And we'd scramble around, reactive, try to find the work order. We'd find it. We'd call the supplier, find out where the part was, and call the customer back. Well, by that time, the customer's hot, they're excited, and they're not really happy with you. But along the way, if we're being proactive because we can see all the statuses of all of our work orders real time, we're calling our customers and updating them on the status as to what we're doing, they're okay with it. Even if there is a delay, they understand there's nothing you can do, but you're updating them as you go through the work order process. In addition, we have tons of workflows, and we continue to write them on how to do things automatically within the system. So if A happens, then B and C needs to happen next in order to deliver good service to the customer. You don't have to remember to do B and C. B and C can send you a reminder, or B and C can possibly be done automatically with the power of the system that ServiceMax is built on, which is Force.com. So we help some of our customers manage their capital budget process, which leads to more business. Excuse me, I'm sorry. If you think about that customer I told you about that has all those positions, right? We have multiple of those. And on an annual basis, if that manager, that operations manager, has to go to his corporate finance department and do a capital budget, I've been told by a few of these folks that it takes them over a week to do. Well, now through customer portals, they can actually log onto our customer portals, because I said to some of our customers, hey, give me a copy of what your budget looks like, because what we'll do is we'll write that report for you within our system off live real-time data within ServiceMax, and you can log in and click budget, and then at the click of a finger, you are done with your capital budgeting process, so that in the old days of having to spend maybe a week to do that and getting behind on your current job, that customer no longer has to do that. They can come in and they can run that report on their own. We have unlimited reports that we can run or a customer can run, because again, I can report on any field live, real time, that I have within my system. And finally, I'll just quickly tell you about Coca-Cola and them being in as a customer portal. They're one of our first to do this with, and they're a great partner of ours as well. And they're telling us, Kevin, we want to have this report. This is why we like that report, et cetera, et cetera. And so they're sharing data with us. We're sharing data back with them. And at the end of the day, I'm truly partnering and becoming a trusted advisor with Coca-Cola as well as my other customers, and not just a vendor. So I go back to what I said earlier. We are not competing on price. Very, very exciting. In addition to the customer portal, as Stacy said earlier, we do at McKinley, we currently do use a partner portal as well, because we have a few products that we very specifically sub out to subcontractors that we've been doing business with for a long time. And so in the old days, we'd have to take their paperwork as well, and then we'd have to hand key that in. Well, no longer, because we arm them with an iPad and a partner license, and real time on the fly as they're completing our work, it's updated internally as well. So that if one of my technicians eventually has to go out, they can see all the way back, even from our subcontractor installer, exactly what they did during the installation. Again, very, very powerful. So let's talk about more revenue. This is an exciting thing that everybody wants to know about. We've had a massive increase in revenue since implementing ServiceMax. And one of the things that we did is we have a Dash 1 program. So in the old days, if you had a work order, it was work order 1, 2, 3, 4. If you found additional work when you were out there on site with a customer, you would take your work order and take that work order number 1, 2, 3, 4. You would add a Dash 1 at the end. And so that's the reason we have the Dash 1 program. But when we were all on paper, we couldn't keep track of what that additional work is that our technicians were selling on site on other products when they were out there. So again, think about that large customer again as an example. If he was working on dock number 100 and he was walking by dock number 80 on the way to dock number 100 and he saw a problem, he told the customer, hey, I can fix this for you really quick while I'm here. It's going to save you a trip charge, et cetera, et cetera. If he does that now in the field, he creates a Dash 1 on the fly within ServiceMax. And now we also electronically track all that. And so what we do is we actually pay our technicians a portion of those Dash 1s that they find on the fly with the customers on site. And we couldn't track that before. When we were on a manual paper system, it was just too hard to do. And whenever you try to put in any kind of incentive package with an employee and that you don't follow through, you've actually totally disincentivized them. Excuse me, new customers, it's a sales asset too, right? So stop and think about this for our new equipment sales guys. They now have the ability to see everything and the amount of money that's being spent on repairs to certain pieces of equipment, and they can track and use that as a lead generation tool to go out to our customers and say, hey, you spent X amount on this. It only costs so much to get a new one. Maybe it's time to go ahead and put that in for your new budget, or maybe it's if you have money left to burn at year end, which is we're having a lot of this right now. Let's go ahead and replace that for you. And we have an unlimited umbrella of products we can sell and service now. And again, this is all opened up because we don't have to remember anything. We don't have to chase anything. There's no paper. Nobody has to go customer by customer and kind of keep track as to where we are. Everything's done automatically. Let's talk about partnering with ServiceMax. I think this is a really important key. ServiceMax, in my opinion, is really a different kind of software company. You know, we do business with an ERP, and we do business with a few other different types of service with software companies as well. But there's just something special about ServiceMax. One of the things that they've done is they do a customer ride-along program. and every single one of their employees has to go out and do a ride-along with a service customer of theirs. So that way, when they're writing software or trying to do things to make that software better, they've put themselves in the shoes of a technician on the day in life of a technician doing their job and saying, now that I've sat in those shoes, how do I make this software better? This picture right here is of one of my technicians. His name is Jose. And that picture actually right there was taken by the CEO of ServiceMax, Dave Yarnold, when he was out doing a ride-along with Jose. They have a true understanding of field service and improving key metrics. And this is huge, right? So they spend all their time trying to understand what it is about service. They spend tons of time doing research on different things on how to make you provide better service to your customers. And the best part about it, go all the way back to the very beginning of my part of the presentation, where I said back in 2006 I wanted to create a computer system to keep customers for life. If I was doing that, I would not be running my business. I'd be in a software business. My business is selling, installing, and servicing material handling equipment and accessibility equipment and growing those businesses, period. Well, the beauty is, again, with ServiceMax, that allows me to stay focused on my business while they're doing exactly that with their business, and that is making better software stronger, faster for you all the time. And they have exceptional customer support. I have an email and a direct line to the CEO of the company. So does every single one of their customers. He's not shy about giving it out. But here's the best part about it. You never even have to go to him, because anybody that I've ever come across at ServiceMax, it is amazing the way that they attack customer service. Your problem is my problem. I'm going to take care of it, and I'm going to take care of it for you, because I realize that you've got to be up and running and have your technicians moving out there in order for you to do your business. And that's exactly the type of company that they are. So finally, I have one more slide before we do any questions this morning. And I thought this was a great slide just to show. So here's Alfonso, obviously. He's got his iPad, and he's working on a piece of equipment out there. And this is a real pick. And this is now a real way in which we do business. And so what Alfonso is doing right there is we have over 100,000 pieces of equipment that we service. And this is the first time that Alfonso or any one of our employees ever ran across this equipment. And so Alfonso was actually keying in all the installed product information for this. He was keying in the make, he was keying in the model, he was keying in the serial number, all the different dimensions and all the details about this product. And the reason he was doing that is because why? What's going to happen the next time that we get a service call for this customer? We're going to know the make, we're going to know the model, we're going to know the serial number, we're going to know any history of anything that we've ever done out there. And so when the customer calls in and gives us a more detailed explanation as to what's going on, we're going to know which technician to send, because we're going to know the product it is, so we can send the best technician with the most knowledge out there to take care of that customer, as well as we're going to have a good idea, because we've been doing this since 1948, what the problem is with that product. And in doing so, which technician actually might happen to have those parts on their van. And so that allows us to increase our first call fix rates. So I'm saving my customers money. I'm getting them back up and running quicker. It enables them to do their job faster, or continue to do their job, and it allows them to make more money. It's absolutely a partnership made in heaven. If you want to give the best service possible to your customers, with no exception, I highly, highly encourage you to explore ServiceMax and change and transform your business the way that McKinley has using this software as well. And with that, I thank you and look forward to any questions.
Thank you, Kevin and John and Stacy, for a very informative and insightful presentation. And yes, we will go into the Q&A portion at this time. First question. Thinking about technical support on site, what about connectivity to the equipment into the customer premises? This is something still an issue with iPads, isn't it? This can be to anyone, if anyone wants to address the question. Just jump right in.
Well, there are a lot of remote control tools available for equipment. I'm not sure if that's what they're asking about. We do have quite a few partners selling remote access tools, and they do support most mobile devices today. I believe that Apple is somewhat limiting in letting you take control of iPads and iPhones, but there is some remote capabilities. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of requests for that, not only on the field service side, but on the managed service side. So, you know, a lot of it depends on the individual equipment on each site and what access capabilities they have. Stacy, is that something you're seeing more requirements for?
And John, I can jump in. Sorry, we had some phone difficulties. It's not my day here. I think there's two different answers to this question, some of which you touched on. I do think there are some, we certainly have customers who have proprietary requirements that they need to actually plug into the machine they're diagnosing. And there are some capabilities to do this and to build this custom within an iPad. And in some cases, you just have to stick with the proprietary equipment and potentially use a laptop. I think the other thing that comes into play here, which is sort of a maybe slightly different question, is if you don't have connectivity and you need to work with your iPad app. And in that case, we do offer a disconnected, our iPad works disconnected, our iPad app. So if you're in a basement or out in the middle of an oil field and you need connectivity in general, that is not a requirement for using this iPad app. So it's kind of two separate questions, but hopefully between John and I, we've answered your question, Francisco.
Just really a quick, this is Kevin, quick chime in on the iPad app in being mobile, being connected and not connected. So I would guess that probably about 75 to 80% of our customers, we do not have internet connectivity. And our technicians are then able to completely do 100% of their work and process all of their work orders, still look up any of the information that they need to look up, and then as soon as they come out of an elevator shaftway or inside a very large building that that doesn't have the internet in it, and they come back up, it syncs real time for us. So there is no issues with that whatsoever.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Next question. This can be to either Stacy or Kevin. Can you comment about the learning curve for the technical area to work with iPads and ServiceMax? And does ServiceMax solution run into other kind of mobile devices instead of iPads, like mobile smartphones, handhelds, or other?
Yeah, so I'll start, and then Kevin, I think you have a great perspective on the learning curve.
Yep.
We do actually. Our entire solution is architected in HTML5, so we can run in any mobile device that has an HTML5 browser, which is basically all of them. The iPad app that is built native in iOS 7, so there are some features, like I mentioned, FaceTime, signature capture, that you wouldn't be able to leverage on other devices. But yes, we do run on basically any device. I think the learning curve question is a great one for Kevin.
So the way that I approach that is I broke everybody up into A's, B's, and C's. And the A's are obviously the people that were given that technology even before we even had it, right? They were like, I want to get my hands on that. I want to be a part of it. I want to be a part of moving us forward on this solution. So the excuse me, the B people were on your fence, and the C's were the people like, keep me away from that. So earlier when I talked about Joe was a C player, if you will, or I classified him as a C at the time because he did not want to go into technology. Excuse me. So the A's, what happens is you make them a part of your implementation team, and they love it even more, and they in essence really become the cheerleaders for you, for your internal organization, and tell everybody else how great it is in order for them to do their job and to serve their customers better. The B's then hear what the A's are saying. They just kind of go whoop, and they just kind of fall over the fence, if you will, into the A camp, and then they start jumping up and down and saying how great it is as well. And the C's, what it really kind of boils down to is our technicians are really, really big, burly men, and that have maybe been around for a while, and they never wanted to admit that they were scared, and they were scared of change, right? And they didn't want to be, they know everything about the products that we sell and we service, but they didn't know anything about this technology. But when we sat down with them one-on-one and we told them that they weren't going to lose their job, we were going to train them and give them the love and attention that they needed, they quickly went from C's to really, I'll say instead of A's, A pluses, right? Because for them, it was just a fear thing. It was just them just being scared, and they didn't know how to approach it. But as soon as you take that all away, boy, they just launch and they become even better than your original A's. I hope that answered it.
Okay, thank you so much, Kevin. We are at the top of the hour. I'd like to thank the presenters and the attendees for a really great webinar today. And again, I'd like to finally remind everyone that a link to the recorded version of this webinar and the PDF of the presentation will be sent out to everyone within the next 24 hours via email. And any questions that we didn't get to today, we'll be sure to follow up with you also via email. Again, thank you everyone for attending today's presentation, and have a wonderful day.